From Plutarch's Lives. This entertaining account of the machines devised by Archimedes and their use in the defence of Syracuse is particularly instructive in its last paragraph, which illustrates one of the reasons why the scientific revolution did not occur in Hellenistic times. These machines he had designed and contrived, not as matters of any importance, but as mere amusements in geometry, in compliance with King Hero's desire and request some little time before, that he should reduce to practice some part of his admirable speculation in science. Archimedes, however, in writing to King Hero, whose friend and near relation he was, had stated that, given the force, any given weight might be moved, and even boasted, we are told, relying on the strength of demonstration, that if there were another earth, by going into it he could remove this. Hero, being struck with amazement at this, and entreating him to make good this problem by actual experiment, and show some great weight moved by a small engine, he fixed accordingly upon a ship of burden out of the king's arsenal, which could not be drawn out of the dock without great labour and many men, and, loading her with many passengers and a full freight, sitting himself the while far off, with no great endeavour, but only holding the head of the pulley in his hand, and drawing the cords by degrees, he drew the ship in a straight line, as smoothly and evenly as if she had been in the sea. The king, astonished at this, and convinced of the power of the art, prevailed upon Archimedes to make him engines accommodated to all the purposes, offensive and defensive, of a siege. When, therefore, the Romans assaulted the walls in two places at once, fear and consternation stupefied the Syracusans, believing that nothing was able to resist that violence and those forces. But when Archimedes began to ply his engines, he at once shot against the land forces all sorts of missile weapons, and immense masses of stone that came down with incredible noise and violence, against which no man could stand, for they knocked down those upon whom they fell in heaps, breaking all their ranks and files. In the meantime, huge poles thrust out from the walls over the ships, sunk some by the great weights which they let down from on high upon them. Others they lifted up into the air by an iron hand or beak like a crane's beak, and when they had drawn them up by the prow and set them on end upon the poop, they plunged them to the bottom of the sea. Or else the ships, drawn by engines within and whirled about, were dashed against steep rocks that stood jutting out under the walls, with great destruction of the soldiers that were aboard them. A ship was frequently lifted up to a great height in the air, a dreadful thing to behold, and was rolled to and fro, and kept swinging, until the mariners were all thrown out, when at length it was dashed against the rocks or let fall. In fine, when such terror had seized upon the Romans that, if they did but see a little rope or a piece of wood from the wall, instantly crying out that there it was again, Archimedes was about to let fly some engine at them, they turned their backs and fled. Marcellus desisted from conflicts and assaults, putting all his hope in a long siege. Yet Archimedes possessed so high a spirit, so profound a soul, and such treasures of scientific knowledge, that though these inventions had now obtained him the renown of more than human sagacity, he yet would not deign to leave behind him any commentary or writing on such subjects, but, repudiating as sordid and ignoble the whole trade of engineering, and every sort of art that lends itself to mere use and profit, he placed his whole affection and ambition in those purer speculations where there can be no reference to the vulgar needs of life.